Welcome everyone to the Ancestral Arts Festival. Today with a wonderful guest, Catherine Lucktaylor, who is a ceramic artist and ancestral healer. And I invited her because her work really resonated with me, and I found the combination of just her work in art and then her work as ancestral healer so interesting. So I'm really excited to have her here. Welcome today.
Thank you so much. It's absolutely brilliant to be here, Antje.
Mm. So we're going to start, as always, with the big question. What was your personal journey with your ancestors?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've always had like an intuitive connection with my ancestors, and often I've had visitations through dreams. That's kind of like my main sort of like area. I'm a very visual person and very creative, so I've always kind of had very strong dreams. So I often get connections and messages through my dreams. And I think I grew up in the UK in England, but my father was not around when I was younger, and he's from Ghana in West Africa. And I was brought up by my white English mum, so I was in a white family, white community, and I was always the only black kid in my family, in school, etc., etc. So I've always felt a sense of not really knowing. Where I belonged or having that kind of like real kind of like deep connection of sense of who I was. So I think when I was a teenager, I first discovered the Adinkra symbols, which are symbols which originate in Ghana in West Africa. And that was kind of like really when I started to explore my roots and my connection with the African side of me. Um, and so I started working with the Adinkra symbols, and they've been like a lifelong kind of obsession, really. Every so often, I deep dive into them. There's hundreds of them. I use them in my work, and I do quite a lot of research around them, and they kind of crop up every so often in my creative practice. So I've always kind of drawn on those different elements. And when I was in my 20s, I was really fortunate to get a traveling fellowship from the Winston Churchill Memorial Trust, which meant that I could travel to West Africa and Brazil. And I was researching traditional religion and sacred art. But part of my journey was also looking for my father. So again, I've always felt guided, so I just have followed those intuitive nudges or messages which I've always felt from my ancestors. And so they did kind of eventually guide me to finding my father. I went to Ghana in West Africa. I discovered that my dad was actually alive and well and living in London, which was 50 miles from where I was living in the UK. But I had to go all that way to actually connect with that part of my ancestry and my heritage. So since then, I came back and I connected with my father and my Ghanaian family. And over the years, I've kind of woven in that kind of the British and Celtic side of things and drew on the African side and kind of combined that in my art practice. And it really continues to this day in lots of different ways. And then over the last few years, I've been diving more into my ancestral lineage, but also healing my lineages. And through that, became an ancestral lineage healing practitioner, which is what I am now. And I support people one to one, but also in groups to heal their lineages, and which then means you can bring through the blessings of your ancestors. And of course, if it's me, it's all about creativity and how that shows up in whatever way that shows up in your life. And that's definitely what I do.
Mm. Well, that's all like weaving into each other. I think you kind of spoke about things like that in a few different ways. And I think what I find the most interesting is like just imagining the coming together of this Celtic and the African. I would love to hear a little bit about like you know, how it fits. Maybe are there pieces that don't really fit? Like, how is this combination for you? Like, what's your experience with it?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things that I love about living where I do, I'm in West Cornwall in the UK, and it's a very special landscape. It's a very sacred place. There are a lot of stone circles and standing stones. I've got the ocean and the cliffs. And so what I love about the Celtic aspect of my ancestry is that real connection to the earth. And obviously, that's the same in all indigenous traditions, and we all have way back, we all have indigenous ancestors. So I think for me, it's about really going back to the roots of our connection with earth as humans. Um, and one of the things I like about the Celtic Wheel of the Year is that we have kind of 8 different festivals. And I think it's the same in lots of different places, but this is obviously the one that's from the place where I am. So we call in the 4 directions and we create sacred space and follow the energies of the earth throughout its cycle, going from the spring through to the summer, autumn, winter, and back again. And I love that cyclical way of things. And for me, the I got a strong connection with some ancestors on my father's mother's lineage, which is the Ghanaian side, and they are very much about working with the phases of the moon. So that is something that I bring through. That's kind of like one of the gifts of my lineage. So I like to work with the moon, with the energies and different phases. And that's something I bring in to my work, but also my practice on like with retreats or one-to-one work with people and creating rituals. So I kind of combine these different elements, and obviously I bring in the Adinkra symbols because they're really part of me and my heritage, but also from my mother's people, there's very much the oak tree and is a symbol, and that's kind of a really kind of like British tree. I presume I'm saying that. I presume it's a British tree, but there's a lot of oak trees in England, and that is a real connection with that aspect. So I guess it's just finding how all these different things weave together, and that's also what I enjoy working with people as they kind of connect with their lineages. They can find all this different symbolism and things that are relevant to them. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And it's such an art process to bring the things together. No, we have all these pieces that kind of seem almost random, like, oh, this here and this there. And then how you bring it all together, that's the real art process. No, this is kind of like
Yeah.
the creative process. So yeah, I love that that is so embedded in your work with that. Um, Now, one of the questions that I have is like, how do you connect to the ancestors? I know that in your work, you connect to other people's ancestors as well, and you help them to connect. So I would love to, yeah, just dive a little bit into that, into this. How do we connect? Like, I know that there's 100 million different ways. So I would
Absolutely.
love to hear like what works for you or what you work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so for me, it's also about having the intention and the clarity that to only connect with the ancestors who are well and who are elevated. And that's part of the healing process that I've been on and that I support my clients with. So it can be very simple. It can be as elaborate or as simple as you wish. And for me, it's that connection's almost there. So it's almost like I can just call on my ancestors. Oh, can you support me with this? If I'm going into a situation or if I'm about to do some healing work, then I call my ancestor to be closer. In a more kind of ritual way, I keep an altar, which is it is more of a portal to connect with them. So I will place offerings, a candle, maybe some food or water, or different things I find that I will just place there that reminds me of my ancestors, and just to keep that connection alive and vibrant. So I think the more you connect with your ancestors, the more they're there for you as well. So yeah, so that's one thing that I definitely do. And sometimes through a writing practice, so I might sit in front of my altar and maybe ask a question, and then I might wait for something to come through, or I might use that time just to journal and write, and then sometimes I see things later. Um, I think I've got a lot of ways, but another way that is being in nature. So I think that is a really crucial one. And I think that is really helpful. Say, if you haven't felt a real strong connection with your ancestors, being in nature and just kind of allowing your sense of stillness. So perhaps sitting by a stream or by the ocean or amongst some trees, just whatever way to kind of really ground and be in nature. I think that's a really good way to connect with the ancestors as well. And of course, through dreams and synchronicities and symbols. So I often have messages that come through my dreams, and I kind of they have a slightly different quality to my usual dream of just, going through whatever's happened during the day or processing things. They definitely have a more vibrant, more tactile quality for me. And that's when I know it's more of a message from the ancestors.
Mm. So interesting. Yes, I've definitely had dreams like that too. And I love that there's like so many different ways, and it feels a little bit like there are ways to where you address basically, and you're like, hello ancestors, can we like talk? And then
Mm,
there's ways where you just receive and where you're basically, where they come to you. So I find that is an interesting part too. Now I know that you work with ancestral healing, so that for me also means that we're touching on the ancestors that might not be well, and
mm-hmm.
that we are probably working on not like I want to say stopping some things from moving in the lineage. I don't know if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
kind of breaking some cycles basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
would love if you could talk a little bit about that, because one of my big questions is also, how do I become a well ancestor? What is my work so that I'm gonna be the well ancestor, the enlightened, not really the enlightened one, but the bright one that
Yes.
maybe my descendants can call upon in the future.
Absolutely, that's a great question. Yeah, I think so. The technique that I use is one that I've been trained in through the Ancestral Medicine Network, which was originally started by Dr. Daniel Four, and it's his like method that he's developed. And so it's a very kind of like step-by-step process, which I really love. And you're right, it is about making sure that any ancestors who aren't well are not affecting you um, as one of their descendants, which I think often we can go through life and not realizing that the stuff that we're dealing with might not be ours, it might be ancestral. And I think more people are starting to become aware of that. And there's been a lot of kind of like research and how with genetics and things like that, but definitely we can bring through the trauma of our ancestral lineages. So what I do is support clients to heal their lineages. So I guide them to connect with their well ancestors, and then we can heal each lineage, deal with the trauma, find out a little bit what's gone on there, and also how it might be impacting your life, and then clear anything out that we don't need to be there, anything that might be negatively impacting you, and we can heal that, and then just bring through the blessings and the gifts of that lineage or those lineages. And then by healing your four primary lineages, then you can then become the face of the ancestors, which is the question we're asking. How can you be a well ancestor? So basically, then you become the face and of the lineages, and then that can then spread out. The healing can fan out for the rest of your family, so those who are living, but also for the future generations as well, which I think is really beautiful and so needed.
Mm. Yeah, it's so interesting that we're living in a time where that becomes available. I feel like, I mean, for me, it makes perfect sense that the experiences that my ancestors have are kind of like in me, and everything that my mom or my grandmother didn't solve is going to be my baggage, so to say. And I have a little baby now, and I don't want to put all this baggage on her. And I've it's been really interesting in my family. Like the more I work on just healing, I'm going to just broadly call it, I can
Mhm.
see effects in my mother and my grandmother, for example. I feel
Mhm.
that it has this intergenerational ripple effect. I wonder if you could speak to that a little bit, and if there's like an understanding like how that works.
Yeah. Well, I think that is the fact that we are all connected. And obviously, when we're working with our ancestors, we're particularly focused on our blood lineage. Although you don't need to know your ancestors to be able to work with your blood ancestors, but it is kind of part of our DNA and we are connected. So part of that healing process is, yes, you're not just healing yourself, but you're calling on the well ancestors to support you to heal the lineages. So that is going to then impact the ones who are around you. And I found, like in my experience, there's often one person in the family who takes on the mantle of being the one who deals with all the ancestral stuff. So, I find that, there can be one person who really dives deep into this work, but it actually benefits the rest of the family. But just saying that, that then has that ripple effect where that's going to affect the wider family, the friends of those people, anyone who marries into that family. So it's that ripple effect can really spread out. And I think that is one of the things which is really crucial. It's like it's not just about healing ourselves, but it's healing our ancestors, supporting the family, and then that ripples out through to culture and to a wider healing, which, yeah, again, is really much needed.
I love that you mentioned culture in that, because I feel that that is a part that um, feels complicated sometimes, I'm gonna have to say.
Mm.
Because I can speak for myself, I don't have a lineage that I can kind of tap into in terms of the practices, the traditions, the rituals. I mean, there's little pieces here and there, but it's not like where I feel like, okay, I just do what my ancestors do. No, I have to find new things. And I
Mm.
really appreciate Daniel For's work because he created something like that. I feel he created something that can be applied for many, many people. But I wonder if you can speak a little bit about that and see how, again, like, I mean, you tap into different traditions and into this work that was created for like everyone, every tradition. But yeah,
Yeah,
I wonder if you can tap a little bit into the working with traditions, and then also into the idea of how do we honor these traditions, where the pieces come from, where the traditions or the rituals, or the work that we do, where that comes from.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that one of the things I particularly like about this work in supporting people to connect with their own ancestors, it is about bringing through what was lost. Because often, in many, many cultures, we've been cut off from our ancestral traditions. We've been cut off from nature. And I think that is one of the keys to kind of like coming back to those traditions. It's allowing yourself to be part of a lineage and to trust that what you're getting through from those well ancestors is a tradition that you can reclaim. And I think it's allowing yourself to do that and to have that and to have that connection and knowing that it's okay. It's not, we're not talking about cultural appropriation here. We're not talking about going somewhere and taking something out of that culture and using it as our own. We're talking about going inwards and backwards to our own ancestral lineages and bringing through those cultures and those traditions. So if we were never removed or disconnected from our ancestral lineages, then we would have these embodied living traditions that would be coming through time, but we've lost that. So we're having to go back and find that and reclaim that. And I think that's something so beautiful about being a creative person. And by the way, everyone's creative. I'm sure you know this. Everyone is creative. It's just finding your way of expressing yourself creatively. Inherently, we're creative as human beings. And so I think it is just, and also allowing yourself to be playful. So one of the things that I really like about ritual and about magic and about art and creativity is we're going back to a sense of innocence and a sense of wonder and awe and, magic. Is magic real? Well, I want it to be real, so allow it to be real and just to play with those energies. And I think that's one of the keys for me. It's allowing yourself to believe, allowing yourself to connect with those well ancestors and bringing through those rituals and those symbols, the colors, whatever it is that is connecting you with your ancestors, allowing yourself to lean back into the support of those wise and well ones, and just letting that creativity and that symbolism and those rituals, letting them flow through you. Yeah.
Mm. I love the idea, and I'm going to admit that my mind says like, okay, it sounds interesting to bring it all forth from inside me. And I feel like inside me is though so much that I've already consumed from the world. I've
Mhm.
already like tapped into so many other spaces. And I mean, I also study anthropology when I
Uh,
like many years back. But I remember some of the things there, and I'm like, okay, but what if like what I interpret as coming through me is still like just me basically reinterpreting things that I have kind of found somewhere else. I know,
mm,
yeah.
mm. I mean, that's definitely a possibility because we all have that within us, don't we? But I think when you're in that real connective space and you're connecting with those well ancestors, you get a sense of what's coming through them and what is just your interpretation. And I think what is coming through them is what will stick with you and sort of hold more meaning, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it would feel more natural, like kind of, it's not
Yeah.
like trying on someone else's clothes, but more kind of finding the ones that really fit.
Yes, I like
Yeah,
that.
that sounds beautiful. I love that. Um, like also one of the questions that I'm asking myself and everyone is like, how do we create new traditions? And what I hear from you now is kind of tapping back in and bringing that back through from basically bringing the ancient traditions back. And I feel that, of course, they will maybe look different. They will maybe, have like my sense with them, like my kind of little spice that I put in it. I
Yes.
wonder if you could speak to that a little bit about the idea of how can we create traditions for the next generations and how can we pass them on as well?
Mm, mm. I think that is something that people do naturally, don't we? I mean, we do have different like holidays that are quite sort of commercial, that can become a tradition. Often it can be a religious kind of like gathering, but I think when it comes down to earth-based traditions, I think you can't go wrong if you work with the cycles of the earth. So even if it's something as simple as, okay, the spring, you see the first snowdrops, and that's like the very early stirrings of spring, and maybe you have some daffodils that you bring in and you place them on your mantelpiece, and that can become a tradition. And I'm sure we've all got family traditions that are just like, where did that come from? But it's just something that our family does. And it becomes a tradition. So really, it's just about something that's repeated and repetitive and becomes part of your particular family. And I think that's kind of where it starts. And it's as we kind of bring people together, then maybe that becomes, an embedded tradition into your family. Maybe there's a certain time of the year, maybe during the summer, all the family gets together and that becomes your tradition. I think it's not put in such a um I don't know, not sort of like making it this big thing that's on this pedestal that is this, oh, we have this, ritual and tradition. It's like it's down to earth. It's like, oh, we cook this bread and we break this bread together, and that is our tradition. It can be really, really simple, I think.
Yes, simplified. I want to like before we close, I want to circle back to your art one more time because I know that, or I've read that your art also kind of works with several different, well, like traditional methods, I'm gonna say. I know that you're like some
Yeah,
part is like a Japanese piece
yeah.
in there, and then you have like the African symbols, and then you also work with the clay. And I wonder, is the clay like from the land as well? So I wonder like how you connect all these pieces because I feel that that is such a beautiful metaphor in a way of how this can work, how we can bring different pieces in and create this beautiful whole out of them.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what I absolutely love about working with clay, particularly. I mean, that's my chosen medium. And I love the fact that you're taking something of the earth and it's just such an alchemical process. You're shaping it with your hands and then creating something that is then fired. And the technique I use, you're right, is a traditional Japanese technique. So, well, what it did, when I say traditional, it originated in Japan, but it's changed a lot over the years as Western potters in the 70s, I believe, started experimenting with this technique that was first used as part of Japanese tea ceremonies, but it's changed so much over time that it's now become an actual ceramic technique that a lot of people use. And it's really exciting because you take the piece out of the kiln and it's red hot and it crackles, the glaze crackles in the cool air, then it goes into the sawdust, which sets alight, and all the smoke and the carbon from the sawdust goes into the cracks, and you're left with this beautiful piece that is very distinctive. And what I like about it is that it's very, like I say, it's an alchemical process where things change. So I like to use that as part of a ritual as well. So you're taking one thing and transforming it into something else. So that's what I love about that technique. And also I work with my hands. I hand build, so I don't throw on the wheel. I use a very ancient coiling technique, which again, when I first discovered when I was a teenager during my time at art college, I felt like a real connection with my ancestors. And so this was like going back in time before we, had any of the techniques we have now, just literally just shaping some clay that was found on the riverbank and firing it in a pit. So really drawing those ancient techniques, and that's what I love. And that's when I feel that ancestral connection flowing through me, which is, I just find it really fascinating, and I love just seeing what emerges. Yeah.
I love that it has this piece of unpredictability in it. That
Mm,
it's
yeah,
not like, oh, I'm creating this and I already know the outcome, but there is like a little surprise in it. Yeah, that's so interesting.
for sure.
Um, yeah, and I love yeah, how you're bringing those together. And it seems like when listen to you talk about it, there's still this honoring though of where it originated, like the Japanese, even though it's changed and people, did all kind of stuff with it, it's still like connected to the beginning. And I feel that that is like an important part too, to yeah, in this art process. So interesting. Now,
Definitely.
I know that you have a guided practice for us, so
I
I
do.
would love to go into that. And I'm just gonna pass on to you, share what you're gonna share with us, and then I am excited to be guided.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, yeah, so before we start, just a few words about what we're going to do, and then I'm going to say a prayer, and then I will guide you through the process. So it's just a short drop-in process, but I just wanted to do something that would help you connect with your creative flow, but also connecting with those wise and well ancestors that have got a particular connection to your creativity, your vocation. So whether that's painting or drawing or textiles or ceramics, whatever that your art and craft is, we're calling upon the wise ones, the well ones who really are the originators of that, and we can bring through that energy. So I'll just make yourself comfortable, and I'll drop us in with a prayer, and then I will guide you through the connection. Call upon all the wise and well ancestors of myself and everyone who's here today, who is listening. I give thanks for this opportunity to guide you and to help you to support and connect with your well ancestors. Call upon the spirits and the elements of earth, air, fire, and water. Call upon the earth that supports us, the earth beneath our feet. Call upon the air, the breath of life that flows through us and around us. Call upon the fire that warms us and cooks our food and gives us light. Call upon the waters of life that flow within us and around us and help to hydrate and sustain us. Giving thanks and praises for this opportunity to guide you today. Ashe, blessed be. So I invite you to be present and just to allow yourself to be in the present moment on the seat beneath you. Focus on your breath and just feel your breath coming in and out of your body. Feel your seat beneath you and your feet on the ground. And take a moment to imagine the roots going down through your feet, through the earth, around the rocks and the crystals and the waters. Feel your roots going down into the center of the earth, to that fiery core. And now draw that beautiful earth energy up through your feet into your body and feel that warmth spreading out throughout your body to the top of your head, to the tips of your fingers. And now turn your attention upwards and outwards into the cosmos and draw down the energy of the sun and the moon and the stars and feel that energy coming in through the top of your head and allow that to spread throughout your body, mingling with that beautiful earth energy. And feel those energies in your heart center as you are grounded and still. And call upon the well and loving ancestors to come close. And call upon any trusted powers who you know already and ask them to clear your space of anything that doesn't need to be here right now. And when your space feels clear, call upon those same trusted powers to put a layer of protection all around you. See a golden light all around you, above and below you. And so you are safe and protected as we go on the rest of our journey together. Call upon your wise and loving ancestors to be here to guide you. And just any who are unwell, please take a step back and set the intention that only the most well and elevated ancestors will be here with you today. Now, in your mind's eye, just see before you a beautiful river or a stream that is flowing in front of you. And take a moment to just take a seat next to this river as you see and hear the waters spilling over the rocks, as the river just lazily flows in front of you. Now, as you look up the river, you can see coming towards you a figure. Now, as this figure comes closer, you reach out and you seek the loving guidance of your wise and well ancestors. So see this beautiful elevated ancestor is coming towards you. It's coming closer. And when they are close, just give them a greeting. Ask them if they are a wise and well ancestor of yours. Ask this beautiful ancestor if they can give you a blessing. You may feel this as a warmth or a soft breeze or simply a deep knowing in your heart. Let their presence remind you you are never alone. Know that your loving ancestors are always here to guide you, and you can reach out for their guidance at any time. As you sit by this beautiful river in the presence of your wise and well ancestors, just have a look in this river and see if there's anything that is maybe blocking your creativity or blocking your connection with your ancestors. Maybe you see some wood entangled in the vegetation, or a group of rocks that are stopping the water from flowing. So reach out and just move some of this debris that is a symbol of whatever is blocking your creative flow. And maybe the other hands of your ancestors are supporting this process by helping you to move out of the river, anything that is blocking the flow of the water. And then see or feel the flow of water starting to increase. So where it was trickling through the rocks, there's now a wave of water flowing down the river, which is a symbol of your creative flow. Place your hands on your heart or on your belly, whatever feels right for you. Now gently say to yourself, either aloud or silently, I open to the flow of creative energy. I trust in my inner wisdom. I allow my creativity to move through me with ease. Feel a gentle current of inspiration awakening in you, flowing from your heart, through your hands, and into anything that you create. You are open to possibility. Now take a moment to give thanks to the ancestors who've come forth, to knowing that you can come back and be with them at any time. And slowly bring your awareness back to your breath, back to the sensations of your body. Wiggle your fingers and your toes, roll your shoulders, and when you're ready, slowly open your eyes. And carry this grounded energy throughout your day. Blessings on you and your people.
I feel like this was exactly what I needed.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, I love yeah. And my visions were so clear and was so on point and made so much sense. The thing that obstructed my river was a square block. So
Oh,
it was not, yeah, and
interesting.
I thought like this is not a pebble. Like the river needs to shape it. The river needs to, and then what my ancestor did, it smashed it into a bunch of little pieces that could then down the river turn into pebbles. And then when the flow increased, I had this moment of fear, interestingly, where I thought like, oh, this is like so much, oh no, like I'm going to be swept away by my creative flow. And then
Ah,
I realized the fear comes from this, um, it's like I'm going to be changed by my creativity. That's like kind of what came through. And I was like, okay, I need to be open to allowing whatever comes through me to change me to where I cannot be this perfect block that I make up in my mind, but I have to be a pebble that is shaped by the river and that kind of like goes with the flow. So that was interesting.
That is beautiful. I love that. And those insights, really good. Mm. Yeah, it can be easy to get swept up in that creative process, can't it? It can be quite overwhelming. I can understand that, but it's allowing yourself to be in the flow and also knowing that you've got the ancestors to call on. I think that is the key. It's not just about you tumbling down the river on your own, you can use your ancestors to anchor you and to guide you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a good reminder. No, because yeah, I think like what created the overwhelm was like, oh no, the floodgates are open. What? And
Yes.
I saw myself like in the river, and I was like, no, I'm gonna float away. This is too much. So yeah, so good. And yeah, I love that just imagery that came through. This was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Now, do you have a free gift for us as well? Like a
Oh, yes,
oh,
I do.
well, let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to share with you. I've created a series of hand-drawn adinkra symbols, which I've hand-drawn myself and created into a mindful coloring book for you. So you can take the images and you can use that as part of a meditation practice. There's an explanation in there for you as well, and it comes as a PDF download. And yeah, it's really beautiful. So, and you can just enjoy. Really hope you love it.
Would you share a little bit more about what the Adinkra symbols are? Because I have never heard of this before. So I
Of
would love to
course.
just learn a tiny little bit, and then I'll let you go.
Of course, yeah. Should have explained them more earlier. So the Adinkra symbols originated in Ghana and they were originally used printed onto fabric, which would be used as part of funeral and ceremonial purposes. And they've become used throughout time. They all have different meanings. So the ones that you'll receive in the colouring book. They've all got a specific name and a different meaning. So there's kind of it's almost like a proverb that goes with them as well. And so yeah, they're really fascinating. So I'm sure you will love using them. And of course, symbols do have a power of their own. So you might choose something that is particularly relevant to your life at the moment and just use that as part of a meditation. Mm.
Thank you for gifting us with this beautiful, yeah, these beautiful symbols from Ghana.
You're
I'm very
welcome.
excited about that.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being here today. I really, really appreciate your presence and your beautiful gifts and all your shared with them that comes from so many different places. I think that's like what I find so interesting.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been absolute pleasure. I was really excited for this, so thank you so much for inviting me.